Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Everything Considered podcast with me, April, your host. Today, I am extremely excited to have Alana Heim with me. Alana is a human design specialist. She's also a 1-3 emotional projector. She wrote chapter 15 on our collaborative book that I've talked to you about before, and you can find that on Amazon. I'll have a link to it below. Welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I was looking over your bio here, and you have a history of accounting. So you have some, I admire people that understand numbers. I am not one of those people. So I look to people that have that kind of knowledge, and you've combined this with human design. We're going to talk a little bit about prosperity, money, finances, currency. You also do some remote energy work, and talk about what's going on in the world with the way we look at prosperity and money. So you combine your knowledge about finances with human design. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's one of those pieces where most people say, I don't really get how this ties together, but it just makes sense for me. And I've seen over the last 6 years since doing this work, people have been awakening to it. And more I meet people, and I just kind of say, I help you navigate the energies beneath your business, life, and money. I just really see the intricacies and how they're interwoven, and people are getting it. So there's a level of knowing everything's energy, money's energy, right? Like we get that. But logically, strategically, money was always separate. It was finances with financial planning, doing things in a certain way, but not recognizing that you energetically have your own way. And to me, that's what just bursts open your prosperity door, right? To take you into a whole new dynamic, different reality, whatever it is. If you're trying to do prosperity your way, it's just, there's more ease, there's more flow. It's all the stuff we're looking for, but we never really kind of paired together.
Right. There's a lot of conditioning around that. I think there's this kind of, all these business courses, there's a one size fits all, follow the steps, it works for everybody, but it doesn't, does it?
No. And most of the time you'll have learned who you should be and how you should do things because mom and dad wanted you to be somebody else.
Right.
And as we know with human design, you get to really step into your beingness. So knowing I'm a projector, you're a manifester, right? There's different ways that we're here to be and do our work in the world. We're not generators, yet we would have been conditioned to think we've got to press on, we've got to go after the plan, take action, move towards the goal. And that may have worked for a little bit, but then we weren't fulfilled. We're starting to get exhausted. And really being in the financial industry, that's what I would see over and over is my clients focused on the dream, which is retirement.
Right.
And I've had to really unwind and unravel that whole concept to say, I don't even know that retirement is anything that we should be focusing on, because if you love what you do and who you are, you're never going to want to quit that. You're going to want to continue to do that. Right. So this dream, this end date, right? Most people would pretty much kill themselves to get there.
Yes. Yes.
And then once they retired, it's like they either die young, they die early, right? And then I saw all the estate planning and dealt with a lot of that part, which was really unfortunate because most people then thought they were entitled to the fruits of someone else, and then they'd fight their siblings for it and sue each other. And right, just so many dynamics of the money piece where communication wasn't happening. People weren't honoring and trusting each other, and they weren't trusting themselves to believe that they had enough and it was going to be there for them.
Wow, that's interesting. There's a lot. I think that is in the process of changing. I mean, there is a global shift going on in the way that we work, in the way that we understand money, the way that we understand prosperity. And the human design piece, I think, is a very important one. I've seen this, I'm in my 50s, and I've seen my predecessors, they race for the gold watch at the end of the finish line. And you're right. I mean, it's almost kind of like, wow, it was for this. and the whole time they killed themselves trying to make it to this ending instead of really enjoying the journey. And you're really trying to teach people how to do that.
And to do it in a way that they're building security foundationally within themselves,
Hmm.
that when you are aligned within, prosperity is going to flow no matter what's going on externally in the world. And
Mm,
that's the big part with even pandemic and all the shifts happening and that are coming, whether people realize it or not.
yeah.
Big shifts in all of our systems, including the financial systems. So
Mm,
if you're used to making decisions based on that external noise, you're going
mhm,
to feel lost, confused,
mhm,
doubting. You're not going to trust that money is going to be in flow for you. But when you can flip it and actually trust yourself and begin to come from that inner stability, it doesn't matter what's going on in the world. It doesn't matter that there's food shortages or inflation or there's all these pieces that are so important,
mhm,
because you begin to trust that the flow will show up. The
mhm.
person who has what you need shows up, and suddenly you're already in that abundance and that prosperity flow where you're not in your head doubting and worrying and being in fear. Because what we know that the more you fear something is really the more that it comes into your reality. So let's create together and help each other, because if I have my chickens who have plenty of eggs for me and my family, we have additional for others. And we
Right.
want to create from that place of, whether you say it's tithing or giving or philanthropy, but you
Mhm.
build that into the process. And I know that's what's been missing really within our financial systems is we think that we're going to be philanthropic, but a lot of times what I saw, especially in the nonprofit worlds, um, it felt like there was such an attachment or almost um, not quite like manipulation, but a little bit, because people only wanted to give because what was in it for them. And to me,
Right.
that's not truly giving from the heart and being open to co-create with each other.
Yes, it's a whole different way of thinking, and I've been hearing this from other thought leaders about how we really do need to shift into more of a collective consciousness in terms of, like you said, I have enough eggs, I can spare some. The other person might have lots of vegetables, they can spare some. So abundance, it's a mindset.
It
It's
really is.
rather than coming from this place of lack and I don't have enough. And that whole splenic fear, we've been rooted in that for so long, and we're shifting to something different. So this is a very, very powerful understanding. And I do think this is the future. So I'm glad
Yeah.
that you're out there trying to help people really find those things within themselves. So different types. So if I'm a generator, um, how does prosperity impact me differently? What does work like for me compared to, say, a non-sacral type?
Yeah. So the sacral beings, the generators, the manifesting generators, they're designed to work. They're
Right.
designed to be the builders of the world, but they're
Mhm.
here to build what really fulfills them. And the greatest gift is they just get to respond to everything that shows up in their
Mhm.
world. So prosperity's out there. And depending on our mindset, depending on if we're open to actually being able to see it, right? Something shows up in their reality and they get to say, uh-huh, or uh-uh. They get to say
Right.
yes or no and follow and trust what's true for them, which
Mhm.
might not be true for someone else.
Mhm.
But when they're trusting that, it just gets easier. It's like the dominoes keep falling. And if they're really focusing, depending on, I look at the variables too. So depending on if their manifestation abilities are left brain or
Mhm.
right brain, it's
Mhm.
very different, right? Maybe they do need to be very crystal clear and specific if they're logically left brain designed, or
Right.
maybe they're more in flow, just how do I want to feel and what do I want to show up, and kind of putting that signal out into the universe, God bringing it back in a way that they get to respond to. And it just becomes easier and easier trusting yourself. And that's how they can really quiet, let's say, the external noise. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world. You just want
Right.
to really listen to that truth that comes through the gut.
They are very magnetic beings, and I think that's what I encounter a lot when I do readings is they haven't been shown how to trust themselves and how to trust that sacral sound or the emotional wave if they are emotionally defined. And I've heard you say that word over and over again, trust.
Mhm.
And I find it as a non-sacral being pretty incredible that and amazing that they are actually really magnetically drawing things to themselves to respond to.
Yeah.
So that should be very encouraging to all of you out there that are generators or manifesting generators. How does the manifesting generator differ a little bit from the generator in this, or is it kind of similar?
So it's similar in that they're the generator first. They
Mhm.
absolutely need to respond to what shows up.
Okay.
And then this is where they really need to sit with, kind of envision or process or whatever their authority is. But even if they're a 3420 manifesting generator, there's an
Okay.
integration piece.
Okay.
So they really need to sit with, does this align with what feels true for me? And
Right.
when they can see it and feel it and they know, oh my gosh, boom, this is a yes, I'm going to stick with it. This is what I want to do. They
Mhm.
move into the role like what you have, which is they become the manifester. They're here
Right.
to initiate, but they have to tell people what they're going to do. Right.
Right.
So, prosperity wise, it's like they're in this space, something shows up, this great opportunity, they sit with it, they realize, yes, I want to do this. Well,
Mhm.
maybe it does entail some financial piece where they've got to move some money. They better tell their spouse or their partner or whoever may need to know what's
Right.
going on. And they're telling, they're not asking. This
Right.
is huge
Yes.
because this is the piece that I see all the time, a lot with females, but males as well.
Mhm.
There's something that holds them back from thinking they have such power, that they're just here
Mm.
to blaze the path. And so they become timid and they think, I have to ask, or I don't know if I should tell them. And,
Right.
what do you think? No, there's such force that is, what you're here to do. You have to go for it. And
Right.
that means telling people, and they might not like it.
Yeah.
Right. So that this is that piece of really knowing yourself and recognizing too, well, maybe there are people blocking you in the
Mhm.
sense that you still need to learn how to stand up for yourself and wield that power and go for it.
Mhm. Wow. So that's the manifesting generator. So there, and I'm a manifester. So I have that sometimes that people pleasing piece, where I don't want my impact to run over people or to make them feel like I don't care about what they want or think. But that can really cross over to a pattern of people pleasing that really shuts down our power.
And it shuts down your prosperity flow
Yes.
because you are here to go initiate and do whatever it is that you're called to do, right? There's this great power within. And
Mm,
whether you learned at a young age to hold it back
mm,
because mom and dad told you no,
right.
or you thought, well, I'll go around them and I just won't tell them.
Yep.
And if you do that, right, that's what starts to stir up the resentment, the
Yes.
anger, the blame, all of these pieces where the flow, the path is just say it, right? And it's
Mhm.
like the doors open, you get to walk through.
Right.
But if you don't, you're trying to climb around the doors or get around it. And suddenly prosperity is not going to quite move into the flow that you're looking for, right? It's not going to be easy. You're going to feel their energy. It's going to kind of stifle you even more. We want
Yes.
to let go of all of that and allow
Mm,
yourself to truly trust as well and move forward on the path you're meant to.
right. Right. So informing is that piece. I'm respecting you. I'm informing you this is what I'm going to do, but I'm not asking permission. And please help me or just, move so we can get on through with this. So that's very,
Yes.
very good. Now, talk to me about projectors because you are one. How is the projector's approach to prosperity different than the other types?
We are here to be guides to
Mhm.
those who see us. So the hardest part is most of the time we think we just need to get out there and be everything and do everything to help everyone. And
Right.
that's very exhausting.
Yes.
And when we're exhausted, we deplete our own energy and our own
Mhm.
resources, and then we don't really have as much to give. So in that space, right? If I'm exhausted and I'm short fuse and kind of like annoyed and
Mhm.
bitter because the world doesn't see me and I have all these gifts, I'm already blocking my own prosperity.
Mm.
So it's a really huge dynamic of flipping that we're not generators. We're not
Mhm.
here to do. We're
Mhm.
here to be,
Mhm.
which means really living into showing up as ourselves, being ourselves, and being seen when we're ready, right? When people
Right.
are ready to recognize us. And I will say that it's still a dance of figuring out, but I have stuff to do and I have people I want to help.
Yeah.
And I know from my experience, it's been very easy to still think I need to push in your way, right? To
Mhm.
just get out and initiate.
Right.
And that really doesn't work.
Mm.
It's sitting back and just still going where we want to go, doing the things. And we don't need the invitations and recognition to do little things. But I will say that even being in a business networking group,
Mhm.
I could feel the energy that not many people saw me.
Mm.
And I didn't need to push or get bigger and louder or, hey, look at me, right? So, all of
Mhm.
these things where it starts to get deeper into the different energy, I would say centers and design and knowing who you really are. What
Right.
energy are you radiating? That's huge for projectors to really lean into their gifts.
Mhm.
And you just need one,
Right.
right? You just need the one person to light the candle or push down the domino. And in a room full of people, if you have the one,
Mhm.
that's all you need. That's all
Wow.
you need to go with
Right.
until it begins to ripple to the
Mhm.
point the more that I honor who I am
Mhm.
and shine and just be myself, more and more people see me. And sometimes it's a little intimidating where it's like,
Sure.
oh, okay, so this is the prosperity and this is like it's becoming a wildfire. And, we're so used to almost hiding or thinking we're not seen.
Right.
We are seen and
Mhm.
prosperity is flowing, but only when we are trusting and allowing ourselves to fully show up.
Mhm. Wow. Yeah, that's good. My best friend's a projector and I can definitely see that. That's excellent. So not last but not least, the reflector.
Yeah. And the reflector, they are really just this beautiful energy of
Mhm.
all that is, right?
Mhm.
All that's around them. We know that they
Mhm.
are the reflection of the health and wealth and well-being of the people that surround them. If they're in a good place, surrounded
Mhm.
by the right people, they're going to already be in that trusting space. They're going to be seen. They're going to be having opportunities and prosperity flowing. And maybe it
Mhm.
feels like it takes longer because their journey is a lunar cycle experience and kind
Right.
of dancing to see what shows up and giving themselves plenty of time. But same thing, they can know what it is they want.
Mhm.
Or when they can also start to see that they are the energy and reflection of others, right?
Mhm.
They can also begin to know what needs to shift.
Mhm.
Or does this feel energizing for me or is it
Mhm.
draining?
Right.
And because prosperity is a flow, if there's ever those dry spurts or trickles or it just doesn't feel aligned, then potentially they're not in the right space or surrounded by those right people.
Right. What keeps coming up for me that is a theme throughout all of this is trust and effortless action that is a result of not trying to force or make. It's just really trusting that inner knowing that we all have inside. And we're so conditioned away from that because, again, it's this homogenized cookie cutter approach to everybody does it this way, when in truth, that doesn't work for most people. So, what I love about what you're doing is you're really actually working with energy. You're freeing, teaching people to free up that energy so that it can flow best. And I really like that. You also do EFT. For people that don't know what that is, can you just give a little brief explanation of what that is?
Yeah, so EFT is emotional freedom techniques,
Okay.
and it's what we call tapping.
Okay.
And more, even in mainstream, it's gotten presence and being known as an energy. So I'm tapping the side of my hand now. That's a tapping point. There's tapping points along the meridians within our body. And so ultimately, this can break up our neural pathways. can
Hmm.
help us change how we feel about something. And usually, if we're stuck, there's a mental pathway, something that happened in an experience that maybe we never learned to treat as animals do, where they kind of shake it out and they release their trauma. Like as humans,
Yes.
we just hold on to it and it gets stored in our body. And
Right.
then it also creates this mental way of thinking that this feels the same, I'm going to react the same, right? It could be
Right.
instant anger, it could be instant stress, or maybe it's lethargy, that you just kind of break down. And so, fight or flight and all those pieces that tie into the nervous system, we can actually start to essentially rewire the brain.
Oh, wow. So traumas and energetic blockages. Do you do remote energy work? So you work with people in this way as well.
Yes. And
Okay.
for me, the remote energy is where I can go into the field. So think Reiki,
Hmm.
but can do more surgical protocols and restructuring organs or chakras. And what I found was we can talk, and I already see a lot through the chart. So having your human design chart, it's like, oh, okay, I just things come to me kind of channel through of knowing what's going on. But then to go into the layers of the aura and into the energies, whether it's your physical or emotional or mental, I've recognized that the more there's certain blocks, let's say in your first chakra, the root,
Okay.
that's where we have our sense of safety and security.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not fully open and receiving, and there's some sort of a block, then potentially that block is not allowing you to feel safe and secure, even with money.
Mm.
And finding kind of how these things cross over. If mom and dad didn't help you to be safe and secure, or the way they were with money and they were constantly worried and in fear
Mm.
around it,
Right.
then that block may have been with you for many years.
Hmm.
Right. And so going into the aura and helping them clear these blocks, then we can also start to see energetically what was there. Hey, there was a block here, and help them emotionally and mentally start to see where are some core wounds,
Hmm.
or what were some patterns that
Hmm.
you're here to work through and really shift.
That's very interesting. So if there was trauma around money, around lack, about not having enough, that can be in the root chakra. That's
Absolutely,
fascinating.
because that's where we are actually in this physical body. And
Right.
then we may feel it physically.
Hmm.
And I'm also always looking at, if you have a physical ailment, then where might there be some sort of an emotional symptom that gives a clue as to what's creating that physical dis-ease, right? Because energetically, there would be a tapping that's been going on for years
Right.
until it physically hits you. And now it's annoying. Now we go to the doctor, like, numb this, give me a
Hmm.
pill, do something because this is bugging me, to the point when you still continue to ignore it. Now it festers into something bigger. Maybe it does warrant surgery, or it takes you down where you're very sick. These are the kinds of things that when we ignore them, they fester. But when we
Mm.
can go inward and look at them from the big picture more holistically,
Mhm.
we can start to unravel. And what I see is that physical piece still ties to everything in your life, including the financial piece.
Wow.
And the finances tend to, basically, I see it as entangle in everything, because there's
Mhm.
a financial decision to travel, right? To go do
Right.
this thing or go here. It's like money always comes in. And when you know yourself, your authority, how you make decisions, and how to trust yourself, suddenly it doesn't feel so hard. You don't have to be so scared about money,
Right.
because it's a reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of all of the energies you bring and you wield. So
Mhm.
I always like to do exercises with a dollar bill that has a little mirror on it,
Mm.
because what we see in money is ultimately what we see in ourselves. And maybe we're thinking money's not showing up. And maybe that's a reflection of, where are you not showing up for
Oh, wow.
yourself or in the world?
That's very profound. That is really profound. What about people that have imposter syndrome, that feel like they don't deserve? Would that be in the G center? Where would you think there would possibly be a blockage? People that feel like I don't deserve this.
Hmm.
Where's that coming from, you think?
I will say also going into the actual chakra itself, the third chakra, which
Mm-hmm.
happens to be the solar plexus chakra, although it doesn't really tie human design wise, but that's our power center. That's
Okay.
I am. And that's where our worthiness is.
I
And
see.
if there is some sort of block even there, right, that is going to have us thinking that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving, all of these pieces because we're not really knowing who we are. So
Right.
in the chart, yes, it could be a dance of whether you have that G center
Mm-hmm.
open or defined,
Mm-hmm.
right? The
Sure.
conditioning goes both ways,
Right. Right.
that I'm an undefined G center.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm around a bunch of people who are unworthy and they think they are and they feel that, maybe I start to question it. But the
Mm-hmm.
discernment and knowing my chart, I can easily be like, oh, okay, so that's not mine, right?
Not
And
mine.
start
Yeah.
to kind of feel that piece of recognizing, wow, this is what they're feeling,
Right.
and knowing that piece. And that's why I love the chart too, because it gives so many layers of information to help us really know ourselves versus the world and not get
Mm-hmm.
totally lost in it.
This is really incredible. This is puts a whole new spin on what it is to be truly prosperous. Is not just about the money in your pocket or the home you live
Mm-mm.
in or the car you drive or all of your belongings. It's something much deeper. It's flow. It's flow and trusting yourself and honoring your truth. I mean, that's
Yes.
beautiful, beautiful, and I love this. So if people want to find you, where would they go? And I'm going to link all this to the bottom, by the way, but if you'll want to go ahead and tell them.
Yes. You can find me at prosperityalignment.com.
Okay.
And that is my handle, Prosperity Alignment, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. So making it really simple. Yeah.
Wonderful. So one last question, and there's no right or wrong answer to this. If you could live at any time in history, when would that be and why?
Mm. And I know I'm not really of this earthly plane. So,
Okay.
so that's the part of me where I'm like, okay, I do know I was from Atlantis, and
Okay.
it would almost be, that was such a crucial point.
Mm,
There's so much that we didn't really finalize or figure out in a way
okay.
to help humanity today.
Hmm.
So I would almost want to be back there to
Hmm.
see how things really went. I
Mm,
sense the
hmm.
energy from that time. I sense that we're on that same path, and I can sense the things that we're doing now
Right.
was done before.
Hmm.
But there is a part of there was great prosperity
Mm,
for many decades and or generations or lifetimes there, and it all fell apart because the lack, the scarcity, it really came from more of the greed factor. And
wow.
I feel that now, and
Yeah.
knowing what went wrong or what could we have done differently, because that also opened up a lot of kind of areas that we've been stuck and looped in
Right.
since that time. Humanity has lots of the negativity, the fear, the lack, the scarcity, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're really beginning to unravel
Mm-hmm.
and let go of so that we can get back to these prosperous ways. So it would be fun to see what that really looks like or experience that.
I love it. And I love that you're here with us today to help us unravel that, because I do feel like it's kind of coming to we're up here at the top as far as like the amount of how obvious that is becoming in our world. And I think people are sensing that that's an issue, that we really don't have lack per se, unless we that's our perception.
Yeah.
And it is that flow and that trusting yourself and your own truth that really opens those doors. And I'm really happy that you're here to help people with that. So thank you so much for coming on today. And I will have all of her information below this video or audio. And go check her out. She's got some very interesting offerings, and she's very well versed in what she does. So thank you so much for coming on. Uh, and hope to have you again soon.
Yay. Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.